Good afternoon to everybody, and good afternoon to my panelists. We are here to talk about one of the very, I would say, hot topics in terms of digital transformation, and that is emerging technologies and how those will shape the future of the digital transformation landscape, right? Um, Artificial intelligence, blockchain, 5G, virtual reality, natural language processing, all of these are much more than buzzwords now. Even in the Indian enterprise landscape, organizations continue to experiment, deploy, and learn the use cases built on these or a combination of these technologies to look at varied areas like improving productivity and efficiency, creating and addressing new business verticals, enhancing customer experience. And then with 2020, there's with everything that's happening around us, it's brought a very sharp focus and sense of urgency, uh, which has actually led to a very rapid adoption of digital transformation and evolution of some of these emerging technologies. During this session, we will explore some of the case studies from top industry leaders who are driving this change within their organizations. Just to set the context, as head of marketing in Tata Communications, we have been deploying natural language processing and artificial intelligence in many of the things that we do to serve our customers better. For example, no longer is it good enough for sales or pre-sales or even a marketing person to go to a customer meeting with a pad, writing pad, and say that, tell me about your pain points, right? That just doesn't work anymore. We have to go today with a point of view. We have to have an understanding of the customer, their industry, the challenges that they are facing, and how the solutions and possibly product solutions and services that a company has will be able to mitigate some of those challenges, right? So from that perspective, very clearly, we need to have information before we get into that meeting, before we get into that face-to-face interaction. So what we have developed, working closely with a couple of AI startups, is a portal for our sales and marketing people to have that information available with them before they even meet the customer. And what do we look at? We look at so many areas. We look at what has this customer purchased from us in the past? What are the services that they're using, right? What is it that they're researching on our website? So what are they interested in, right? So are they downloading white papers on security or on cloud or on network or SD-WAN? So we have that information. What is it that they're engaging with us? Have they attended our webinars on specific topics? Have they asked questions? Have they showed interest, right? What are their competitors doing in the industry? Are there any new regulations that are coming into the industry, right? Using various such parameters, and I could go on and on, we build, a profile, if I may call it, in terms of what are the areas of interest, either actively or perhaps they may not be aware because we are aware because we are watching that industry from a broader perspective. And then we take that information and we go and meet that customer and or that prospect. And when we are having that engagement, we talk with a point of view. We start with a point of view and not start with, tell me what's keeping you awake at night, right? That used to work many years ago, but we stopped that, right? So I thought I'd give a use case in terms of how we've been able to adapt, adopt, and even roll out artificial intelligence in understanding our customers better. Then we also have a repository of our assets in terms of use cases, references, data sheets, right? All the collaterals as they're called. Now, what is it that is relevant for a specific customer? So then we take the same technology and we apply it to our collateral database or collateral engine and then intelligently pick up what is it that we should take with us in that meeting. Should we take a customer video? Should we take an analyst point of view? Should we take a specific product or a technology perspective related document? So even we arm the sales and marketing folks with the right assets and collateral. So it's not just having a point of view, but it's also having the assets together with them. So when they meet the customer, they're fully prepared, right? So I thought I would just start with this case study so that we set a context in terms of how we have deployed this in marketing, and we've deployed this artificial intelligence in our network, in security. These are the products and services we offer, as well as in many other areas like even our billing and financial systems, right? But let me pause over there because this is about listening to my esteemed panelists over here. And let me welcome Mr. Venkat Kumar, VP from Kotak, if he would like to start off the sessions today. Over to you, Mr. Venkat. Mr. Venkat Kumar, are you there? Okay, if he's not there, let me just move on. We'll come back to him. Mr. Venkatadri, if I may, I can see you. If I may invite you to start the session, please.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be part of this panel in the CIA CDT program organized on digital technologies. Amit, I think it's a the question that you asked is something which is pretty interesting, and today nobody, 10 years back people used to ask questions saying that what technology, why technology. Today nobody asked these questions saying that why. Today it is when. People are every company is looking at how they can use the various technologies that are getting mature, whether it is AI, whether it is ML, whether it is big data, whether it is edge computing. Today it's become pretty common where companies are using it, and I can give you a couple of examples, and at a very high level, and then later on during the show, if more details are required, one can get into it. So if I segment it and say that how technology can help different parts of the value chain, whether it is a manufacturing value chain or the supply chain part of it or the customer end part of it. And I'll give an example of each one of them in quick succession. Is that if I take the manufacturing part of it, that as Tata Chemicals, we've got one of the largest soda ash salt manufacturers. We've actually been able to use the whole concept of big data, artificial intelligence, IIoT. In fact, we have partnered with Tata Communications and TCS on that, where we are able to actually look at how do you enhance the predictive and prescriptive way of running a plant, so that we have a batch production, and we are using high technology to be able to actually advise the operator what parameters should they change, so that batch after batch they are able to hit what we call as a golden batch, which is you get all the right parameters to hit the best efficiency. That's one part of it. I mean, I'm not going to get into now detail. Since this is an opening remark, I'll just talk about it there. Second is that we are also looking at the whole area of supply chain, and we have been exploring how we can use blockchain to be able to actually keep a track of how the whole product moves from end to end. And one of the critical things that we are looking at is also in the area of places like agriculture. We are looking at some of the produce. Now today, customer wants to know who produced it, where was it produced, stuff like that. And how do you keep track of it right from the day the seed is sown, or not even seed is sown, when the land is prepared, the seed is sown right up to cultivation and then put it into a bag. And that's something where we are exploring and working on how blockchain can be used. Now coming to the third part of it, which is the customer end. In fact, we've been in our subsidiary Rallis, which I've been personally involved in, where we've been leveraging satellite technology, data analytics to be able to predict pests and diseases 15 days in advance, so that that there's going to be a pest that's going to come, and you can advise the farmer to take necessary precautions, so that instead of it's like telling a person you're going to fall ill, you take the medicine in advance, so that the chances of falling ill reduces, your immunity goes up. Of course, now with COVID coming in, everybody understands that, build up immunity so that one doesn't fall ill. So I can talk about, these are three broad applications where we in Tata Chemicals have looked at it from a back-end perspective, which is the manufacturing, the middle piece, which is supply chain, and the customer end, which is serving the customer. So these are broad three areas, and happy to share as we go along more details about it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Venkatadri. I can see Mr. Venkat Kumar is now online from Kotak. Would you like to go next?
Yeah, able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, thanks, Amit. Thanks for this opportunity to share my views. When we are looking at artificial intelligence, we see it like an electricity. It can be used with any product, processes, and helps us to give different kinds of benefits. In terms of automation, we have leveraged robotic process automation. It has given us productivity gains as well as cost efficiencies. In terms of risks and fraud, we are leveraging in terms of assessing credit worthiness of an individual, or in terms of payments, we are looking at to contain the frauds. In terms of customer interaction, we leverage chatbots, which is available for the end customer 24/7 to take care of his queries. We also provide personalization with valuable insights, which can help him better in his financial wellness. Also, we leverage artificial intelligence to provide us critical, valuable insights so that the right decisions could be taken. And we also leverage AI for new business opportunities like robo-advisories and so on. So broadly, we have seen different kinds of technologies used in different contexts, providing us with different kinds of benefits. The other technology which I like to talk about is APIs. And if you look at the first wave of evolution, typically on a financial space or banking space, we have seen payment APIs being exposed for the partners, followed by lead generation kind of an APIs. Now we could see a second way of evolution, which is being seen globally, which is called open banking or connected banking, wherein which the banking services could be accessed through our partner business applications. So it could be an ERP solution where partner comes in, he tries to access his banking applications. And we're also seeing a trend down the line. It is moving towards open finance, wherein which you can see various financial products like insurance and credits being accessible through third-party business applications. In terms of blockchain, we have seen not much of an adoption like API or artificial intelligence, but in very specific niche areas where we are seeing some kind of a private kind of an ecosystem in terms of use cases such as international remittance and trade finance. And maybe down the future, we would see a lot more applications in this space. As we see, as our telecom infrastructure is going towards 5G, we would see a lot of consumptions of video contents as well as a lot of physical interactions might be replaced with video conferences and so on. In terms of virtual reality, not much we could see as of now at a mass scale adoption in terms of use cases, but as a technology, we have seen getting adopted in areas like gamification and the educational space and so on. That's my views.
Thank you so much for that, Venkat. We will now move to our next panelist, Mr. Guy Nathan from Carbine Israel. Over to you.
Do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you and see you. Over to you.
Hi. Yeah, thank you very much. Nice to meet you all. I'm around just a bit about myself. I'm around 25 years experience with a lot of startup, mainly in the Israeli ecosystem. I'm based in Tel Aviv. Help many startups to shape the strategy, products, dealing with artificial intelligence, fintech, blockchain, many other technologies. But I think this part of my career in Carbine is the most excited because we at Carbine actually utilize digital transformation to literally save life. What we've done in Carbine is we created, we're taking the emergency, let's say the old emergency legacy systems and processes and actually upload it to the cloud. So the challenge was how you can allow emergency calls to be in high resiliency, wherein the call should not drop when someone calling 911 or some kind of an emergency medical number. So then the call should not drop, and you need to keep it in high resiliency. So how you make it run with the 5.9 resiliency on the cloud. So this is what we've done in Carbine. Actually today we are a company that more than 100 employees serving more than 400 million people worldwide. Actually more than 70 governments worldwide, including India, Maharashtra. We have a very interesting, successful use case in Maharashtra when we handling actually the 102. The medical services for a woman that giving birth. I can show you maybe later some kind of a short demo. But what we've done is our main patent technology is that we know how to turn voice 911 call into rich data. And when I mean rich data, I mean dynamic location, video, live video from the scene. And chat, and we've done all of this magic without the user to actually use any application on the user side. He doesn't need to download any application, just calling the local 911 number, and it's happening. The call taker can know in real time where it is. They see the video from the location, can do an incident conferencing with other emergency services. So actually we utilize digital information, and we make it more accessible to the call takers, police, medical healthcare, other government emergency providers, and make it much more simple. If I would have time and your permission, I can maybe show you a short demo on how it works.
Oh, that would be great. Yes.
Okay, so let me just share my screen. Tell me if you see my screen.
Yeah. Yes, we can see your screen. Yes.
Okay, great. So this is, let's start with this. This is Maharashtra, India. All the blue bubbles that you see here actually represent the call for the 102 medical services. We had a partner there that actually ran 3,000 ambulances for the 102 services. And if you see a camera icon in this bubble, it actually represents the call within the video in it. So if you press it, you can see the call and actually the video and all the details that run within this call. Now, what interesting is about it, I will show you how it works. Let me just open the screen. I'm actually visualize my mobile on the right side. This is my mobile. I will simulate the call now. And this is the carball. We call it the carball. This is the solution. It's over the top, pure software as a service that can deploy over any other PBX telephony. We are agnostic to that. It's coming from the cloud, 5 minutes to install, and there it is. I open it now, and now I have a map. Now, on the left side, I'm simulating the call taker, which can be the police, medical, that doesn't matter. Let's simulate the call to 911 emergency. So it's in real time, it's happening automatically, but now I'm simulating the call. I'm sending now the number, which will actually can take automatically by image recognition that we have. And I'm sending a WhatsApp, two messages to my mobile. One is WhatsApp, and the other is an SMS message. So I'm opening it now. I got the message. I click on the and then watch what's happening on the call taker side. Now I see my location. This is my location in real time. Okay, I got my location. I can also enable the, wait a second, I want to enable the video. Okay, now I'm enabling the video. You see the video. This is the video coming around from my mobile in real time. Okay, so imagine that this is an incident, an emergency incident. You will see what happening in real time. Okay, and then of course I can set a chat to the user, to the caller. Instead, if it is an emergency case and he cannot speak, I can say the hi. Okay, you see, I got this message here, and I can back hi. So now we know that he cannot speak, and we can share an information with you. With that, we have a lot of use cases for mainly in the US and in Mexico that in crisis the caller cannot speak in terms of because of the situation in real time. So he actually chat with the police. Emergency response, and we actually share some use cases, very interesting use cases when we sell live. Now I can take a picture in terms of I can take a picture on behalf of the user. So if I'm the call taker, I open it here, the video. This is my view here. I have one. This is the chat. This is the location. I can take a snapshot on behalf of the user if I want to help him. Okay. And then I can do a conference and with other call takers. I can share this information with other emergency service provider, which can be ambulances, police, and other call takers in real time, so they know where are the user actually located in real time, where he is positioned. I can turn it to be satellite view and so on and so forth. I have another button here, which is, we call it Data Insight. We adjust it to, it's actually a questionnaire, a short questionnaire. We adjust this questionnaire for COVID-19. So you have here 4 simple answers, that questions that actually answer, asking you how much fever you have, how much cough, and if you are struggling to breathe. And all of this situation, of course, it can be adjustable, but all of this situation goes to the dashboard that you saw before. I now want to share the dashboard. And I will show you how we can help. Actually, we can help Maharashtra to flattering the COVID-19 curve. So this is the call map, but I can sort it and I can see all the COVID cases, all the people that answering the COVID questionnaire. So if I will sort it, I will see the red dots. So all the red dots, actually, I can see it in a national state level. I can see the COVID cases. I can run a heat map, and I can see where the main COVID cases actually in Maharashtra. Okay, in all of this information, I can see also in satellite view. I can zoom in. I can press on each cases, and I can investigate backward. All of these cases recorded in the cloud and upload to this nice dashboard with a ticket table. Every call got a ticket ID, which you can register, you can investigate, you can see all the user information. So this is Carbine in a nutshell. As we said, for example, in Mexico, we have 90% coverage, 30 states from 32 states we are covering by Carbine, 20 states in the US, Philippines, Ukraine, and now we entered to India, start to service in Maharashtra. Yeah, this is Carbine.
Very impressive. Thank you so much for sharing this, Guy. And I have some questions, and I will come back to you.
Sure.
At this point, let me move to Mr. Saurabh Tiwari from Dell Technologies. If you would like to share your views and your use cases, please.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you so much. And I hope everyone's safe and well in this rather trying time. Kind of unprecedented, unfortunately, but unfortunately, that's how it goes. So essentially, from Dell Technologies, we actually have a very privileged position. We are honored to help organizations like, the ones of the panelists or the ones of the participants, and of course, globally, to implement their solutions, to basically use the digital infrastructure to implement, all of these incredibly innovative solutions based upon innovative and secure platforms. Now, moving back to the topic, which is essentially, the transformative technologies like 5G, NLP. So essentially, I was actually wanting to add one more piece, or maybe another dimension to this overall, bunch of items, which is 5G, NLP, AR, VR, and that is the edge. Without having the edge, it is always going to be very, very challenging to implement these technologies and leverage them to their fullest potential, because you'll have latency issues, you'll have bandwidth issues, and of course, backhauling everything to the core is always very challenging, regardless of the kind of infrastructure that you have. Unfortunately, in India, infrastructure is something that we do not have. So 5G, essentially the truly transformative and evolutionary technology, which is going to be offering phenomenal improvements in not just speed, but also latency, enabling solutions which require ultra reliable, low latency communications, which in turn would depend upon the distributed edge for compute. So 5G and edge computing together in their various flavors, including Industry 4.0, and I heard another panelist from Tata Chemicals basically extol how they're using Industry 4.0 to sort of bring in significant efficiencies in the plant and manufacturing processes. I'm sure those are, of course, not limited to just chemicals, but essentially pretty much everything. So what we used to do, sitting in the office, analyzing data, okay, on Excel sheets, that is what Edge is going to do for every single sphere of our lives. Okay, imagine we are having COVID situations. Imagine connecting all of these centers that are running COVID testing, okay, and sort of enabling those guys having laptops, upload all of that data, and then correlate that information with the blood group of patients. So I saw a couple of researches where people were talking about certain blood groups are more susceptible to developing complications. Certain blood groups are not susceptible. Of course, it's all speculations at that point in time. But 10 years ago, we would not have been able to do even just that. I mean, it was completely unimaginable. Okay, but now that we have that amount of connectivity, imagine what's going to happen when we connect absolutely every single thing, from a light bulb to the most complicated manufacturing plant. So the future, of course, is basically using 5G and edge computing in their various flavors together, okay, which then are collectively capable of transforming not only existing business models, but also creating brand new ones, which we've probably not even heard of, okay. And essentially, what we're looking at the future is something which becomes more intelligent through AI and ML, more interactive through NLP, AR, and VR, and more secure through built-in hardware algorithms like we're building into our products and, of course, the entire supply chain, as well as network slicing, which comes in from 5G, and built-in protocol-level enhancements. Now, like always, any new technology in India, the rollout of that will have invariably its own set of regulatory and infrastructure challenges. In the case of 5G, it's going to be the lack of fiber connectivity, high cost of spectrum, and unfortunately, unreliable power. So we're working with a plethora of customers and regulators to sort of build solutions which are robust enough to withstand such challenges, and of course work around them and build something that can support the general population of the entire planet at large. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you very much for that. Now let me start with the questions round. So I will start with Mr. Venkatadri, who had spoken first. If you're there, can you share something more about the manufacturing use cases leveraging digital? Also about prediction of past diseases in agriculture. Mr. Venkatadri, if you could please. You're on mute, I think.
Sorry, I missed unmuting myself and I started talking. So, see, on the on the manufacturing part of it, there are a couple of applications which we have seen very good traction. One of the things which I said is that one of our key steps in manufacturing, where we've been using data analytics to be able to come out with prescriptive advice to the operators. What we find is that every operator runs a particular plant differently, and you do find out that an operator would react to a particular circumstance when the temperature goes up or pressure goes up, down, etc. Flow rate goes up and down, and something else happens, and you don't get the optimum efficiency that you need to get. Now, what we have been able to do is to actually build a data analytics model which actually looks at the past data for the last couple of years and then says that if you do this, it will actually help you increase your hit your golden batch, as we call it. So, and what we did is that we started working on it last year, and we found that we were able to substantially improve our throughput. That's one big advantage that we saw, and we have now extended across to virtually all the plants that we have. That is one. The second area, which is a very important thing, is that how do you take care of lone safety, lone worker safety? Because in a factory, the workers are spread all across, and many of them would be working alone. It's possible that the person falls down, gets hurt, anything could happen. So one of the things that we have used is that how do we use technologies to get to know that if a particular operator is, for example, immobile or has fallen down or his heart rates have gone up. And we've actually been able to, something again, we have worked closely with Tata Communication, is to actually get to know where is that worker, and if there is a problem that has taken place, you can quickly reach out and save a life. So that's another area that we've been able to effectively take care. The third area that we are exploring is with something which pilots are on, is to take care of the maintenance part of it. How do you actually put IIoTs and get to know that you're able to predict well in advance that this machine is likely to fail, so that you can take precautionary measures and save your production from getting impacted when a motor or a turbine or engine or one of these things, and these are all mechanical parts and they can fail at any point of time. So you are able to actually create what has effectively happened is that from earlier what used to be a breakdown maintenance to what became preventive maintenance to today we are talking about predictive maintenance. So you predict in advance and then take an equipment out of operations. And here what we find is that the benefits that is there is not only breakdown is avoided, but also cost of repair. When something breaks down, there are X number of people who have to go there, get the thing sorted out, and there is always an emergency. So that's something which is what we have seen as a big delta. So we've seen that how we have been able to use the digital technology, which is a mix of data analytics, IIoT, and edge computing. What my co-panelists talked about, Saurav talked about the edge computing part of it. That's one. The second area which you talked about, which you asked me, is the whole area of pest and disease. See, this is a very, very interesting thing that, it's easier to predict things which are chemical in nature or mechanical in nature, but not very easy to predict biological in nature. And pests are all biological, insects. How do you actually know that there is going to be a biological attack or a pest attack in a field? That you are able to actually do a mix of using satellite technology to get to know what's the condition in the field. And that actually helps you to tell that, 7 days, 15 days in advance if there is going to be an attack. What we've been able to see is that we've been able to protect the farmers' output by giving them advance notice that please spray this so that you will be able to, one, save the crop. The second is also we've actually used it the other way around, is to say Indian farmers tend to spray that this is likely to happen. We've actually gone them and told them saying that the conditions are not conducive for an attack. So don't worry about it. You don't need to spray and waste your money. Don't spray. You know, your crop is healthy. There is unlikely to be an attack. So, you know, it looks very funny to go and tell, saying that it acts kind of against us. Otherwise, they would have taken our products. But what happens is that the engagement with the customers become much higher because they realize that you are actually trying to help them increase their output. And you're not trying to sell your product by pushing it on them and say, use it, use it, use it. So many times we go and say, don't buy it. Yeah? There's going to be no attack at all. So that's another thing that we have been able to do. The other critical thing as a consequence of that, we've been able to also estimate what is likely to be the yield of the crop. So when we get to know that the yield is going to be good, bad, ugly, it also can help in prediction of commodity prices, commodity demand and supply that could happen, you know, at the end of the season. So we've been able to actually leverage quite a lot of you know, the predictive technology, the you know, the AI capabilities, the you know, also edge computing to be able to actually bring it all together for both for, you know, the details of what I talked about in the manufacturing and similarly in the you know, in the customer end. Now the key thing that we are working on is the whole thing about how do we leverage blockchain to be able to kind of track how the crop is moving through its entire cycle and make sure that we know what is a farmer doing to that particular crop. Is he spraying, not spraying? What is he doing? Where is it grown? When was it grown? The whole, you know, the horoscope can be got by using blockchain. So this is so these are three areas. You know, I mean, there are a lot of other things that we are actually been doing. One thing I need to say, I mean, with your permission, we've actually been able to use. You know, we all know that there is a lot of microbes in our stomach, and that microbes actually help, you know, digestions. So we've been able to kind of predict and say that what kind of people are likely to have what kind of health problems. So this is something which we've been able to predict to a reasonable extent. In fact, we are working on a lot more data analytics and also predictive technologies to be able to say, which can actually lead to saying, Mr. A, you must eat this to take care of diabetes or, you know, whatever, you know, weight. You know, for this kind of a food, don't eat it because, you know, this will not get digested and create a problem. So that's another area that we have done reasonably good work using, and this is all using digital technology. And I see a lot of potential going forward.
On the microbiome, right? That's what
microbiome.
Yes, yes.
Absolutely.
No, I'm very, very happy to hear about the technology that you are deploying, and hopefully, you know, the next locust attack will be handled much better, right? I think we did a good job this time also, but I remember it was so scary, and I did have some of them land up in my balcony, so I did see them up close this year for one of the first times. But thank you very much for that. Let me now move to Guy, if you're there. You know, saw the demo, very impressive, right, and amazing. But would you care to share, you know, the kind of technology that you are deploying? You know, is it cloud? What kind of, you know, user interface that you're using? Tell us a little bit about the secrets behind how you are being able to deliver that, because it looked like you have global positioning, you have video feeds, you have you know, connectivity with telephone and emergency services. It's got everything. So can you share some of the secrets?
Yeah, some of the secrets, yeah. So the interesting part is the founder, Amir, started Carbine when he had a personal, you know, personal gut rob in the beach of Tel Aviv, and he called the police, and he saw that the police, struggling to know where he's located exactly on the beach. So he said, hey, it's not possible because emergency service provider must utilize, you know, the next generation technology actually to know location, video. It seems like obvious. But then we go to and try and starting to interview emergency services in the US, Latin America, Mexico. So that they all actually use the old school telephony PBX and physical lines to actually answering and one call it, and then we said it doesn't needs to be that way. So what we've done in a long, let's say 2.5 years of R&D, we upload all the 911 high protocols and processes to the AWS cloud. Currently, we are sitting on this government sector in the AWS cloud, which means the 5.9 resiliency so I mentioned that our technology backed by 8 awarded patents, which is the main one turn voice 911 data, but the second main patent is that we know in real time to allow the call staying alive and actually getting the video even when the network is poor. If you don't have network and you don't have internet, so we actually reduce the resolution of the video, and if there is a lot of other struggling in the network, we actually allows only the pictures to move on, and if the picture also cannot move on, we are keeping up the voice. So all what it's needed in terms to actually save the call zone. So this is one. The second that we started with an application on the user side, but we have around 500,000 downloads application, but we understand that it's not scalable, because when someone needs an emergency service, it doesn't look on dedicated application on this mobile. It just want to press on the button and call 911 or any other number. So we invested a lot to actually getting rid of the application, and today we can allow this happening on without the number. Now the location that it's important to say, the performance, the location performance that we've shown actually tested by Google for a long period of time. Google ran a long due diligence around on our performance. And today we have a global agreement with Google, which we actually getting the location from the device itself. It's called Advanced Mobile Location, an AML protocol. So currently today we are actually the first choice of location gateway services of Google. And when we come into a new country or new location, we starting with the ELS, it's called Emergency Line Services letter that's signed by the government body and sent to Google. And if Google actually tested and approved, then they actually turn all the GPS location to be only on when they're calling the local 911 number. So this is the magic. We have a global agreement with Google. Very accurate location performance. We actually can show even the attitude. So we know if you are in a building and some kind of earthquake happening, we know to say that you're under or you are in the 5th floor, or you're on the west side on the 5th floor. So this is a very accurate location performance. And another thing that we've seen, that actually we help a lot of emergency service providers to reduce the overhead costs. So I can give you an example. Instead of using 3 ambulances to the same call, they can understand that they use only 1 ambulance, and they save a lot of cost, and so they will actually be able to send an efficient and I want to share with you a short movie, just to see you, to show you how it's working on Maharashtra, when actually the husband actually called to a 102 services because his wife was giving birth, and he was in a rural area. It was hard to find him. And let's see how our technology helped the ambulances, the emergency 102 services, to locate him and actually taking the woman to hospital and giving a healthy baby. So this is the movie. You can see in real time, he calling the 102 services in Maharashtra. We can see his location in the rural area. You can see all the timestamp and the location on the right side here on the bar. Okay. And now you see when he's walking, we can see a dynamic location. We can see in real time where he is. and actually enabled to direct the ambulance directly and exactly to the spot that is located, because he was in stress. He was looking for emergency help, and using carbine technology, we can actually help and direct the ambulance direct to him and to his wife, and giving a healthy baby. So this is literally utilize technology and information actually to save life and provide a healthy.
Very impressive. Very impressive. Thank you for sharing that. Very impressive. Saurabh Tiwari, there is an audience question that I will direct to you if you don't mind. The question is, sensorization of end devices on shop floor, end user devices, what is called digitalization of assets, is an important aspect. The person would like to understand about the availability and maturity of such sensors in the Indian market to collect these kind of key performance indicators. So what is the availability? We're talking about futures, we're talking about, so I thought more from a Dell perspective, as well as being in that space, you would be able to throw some light on the availability of these sensors.
No, absolutely. That's a great question. So first of all, in addition to the availability, let me talk about the miniaturization of such things. So a lot of the sensors that one would use in a shop floor, perhaps pressure sensors, accelerometers, Hall effect sensors, okay, magnetic sensors, all of these have now been miniaturized to an extent where your average smartphone would essentially be carrying at least a dozen of them. And there are many, many manufacturers which are manufacturing these and are also adding connectivity options in addition to, small, powerful lithium-ion power banks or silver halide batteries, which will enable these to work for a long period of time while reporting information to edge computing infrastructure. Okay, pretty much the same sort of setup that Mr. Menkabadri just mentioned about. Okay, in shop floors and pretty much every industry across transport, across pretty much anything. So this is something which has been increasingly becoming more and more mature as we speak, and there are quite a bit of these devices available in the market at this point in time.
Fabulous, thank you. I have another question for Mr. Venkat Kumar of Kotak. We're talking about, future technologies. We're talking about AI, many things. In your opinion, what would be the best approach or process to adopt these emerging technologies, in business? How should we go about doing it?
I think the first step you need to look at from the lens of businesses. So let's take you take a specific technology like an NLP. I'm just taking an example. Right? I need to identify and anchor business use case along with the business team to identify if the problem can be solved to the level they are expecting. Can they realize a business benefit out of it? So that's the first step. We always work along with the business team to identify an anchor use case. And once that is identified, we focus on building a proof of concept with certain outcomes defined at the beginning of engaging in a proof of concept. And towards the end, we try to evaluate it. Probably we might do multiple iterations to get the desired outcome. But once we get that desired outcome, then we look at scaling, deploying it commercially or internally for the employees, and then scale that particular use case out there. And typically, technologies like AI, they are like platforms. Once you scale for one use case, then effectively you can build additional use cases at an incremental cost. And in the first journey, you know what are the boundaries wherein which the solutions can work properly. So the learnings can be leveraged at a lower cost. We can start rolling out new use cases incrementally at a faster time, and you can get the desired benefits. To do this, a kind of a centralized COE, focusing on specific technologies, working along with business team and this can help us to scale any kind of new technologies at a much faster rate.
So Kotak, at least from your banking side, has been at the forefront. You can open accounts, at a click of a button. I think you also had the EKY, everything, right? So,
yeah.
Did you follow this process for that, or would you care to share how you went about doing that and being? I think you're pretty much first in the market with that, right?
Yeah. So as I said, right, any innovation thing which we look at, we start with business outcome. Can I look for a business outcome? The business outcome varies depending on the use cases. Sometimes it could be productivity, cost savings, or customer experience, or it could be enabling a new business opportunity altogether, right? Now, and then we look at how to realize it, right? So always we focus on building customer research, building prototypes, trying it out with the end audience, tweaking the solution, or even if we find that end of the day what assumptions we have made does not make sense, then we drop it off and start looking for a newer problem statement. So we do it as a cycle. So we have defined certain gated criteria depending on which we decide whether to go to the next step or not. So this is the process we use internally.
Excellent. So in Tata Communications, we use the agile methodology for this, right?
Yeah.
There's another question from the audience, and I might take a shot at answering this, and I might even come back to you, Saurabh, for this. It says that eSIM-enabled environments is now started in India, so eSIMs are available. Can this be a complete solution for security for SMEs to large corporates, including work from home endpoints? So let me take a crack at it. In terms of eSIMs, these are the embedded SIMs. Now, these can be, I know they're available in some mobile phones now, right? They're embedded in the mobile phones. They're available in some of the smart watches. You will soon have, cars which will have eSIMs. So what does it provide you in terms of security? The eSIM is tied to a specific device, right? So you cannot remove the SIM and put in a different SIM into that device. So essentially what that does is it gives you the ability to identify that device. And of course, if there is a user associated with it, then assuming that the user owns that device and it hasn't been misplaced, then you are able to identify the end user, right? So from that perspective, the user authentication or the device authentication, if I may say, is proven with an eSIM, because the device, you cannot easily remove the eSIM and put in a different SIM. So you cannot do that, right? Or you cannot clone a SIM and put it in there. So that device authentication and security is provided. Now in work from home, there are many other elements, because the question was for work from home endpoints, right? Typically, if somebody is logging into a corporate network or to a corporate application, you need to ensure not only that the device is authentic, but also the user, right? So there would be a two-factor authentication typically, where you may ask for a password and then you may actually generate a PIN and provide that, okay? Or you may have various other technologies which are there. Sometimes it's an SMS that is sent, A2P messaging to that security proven device, which then the person can put the PIN in. And some of the banks have that for login, and then enterprises also have that. So you can then identify that yes, the device is a secure device. Yes, I've authenticated the user as well, and therefore the person who's accessing from home or remotely is now known, that is a known person, and it's identified, and then you ensure that the corporate assets are not in jeopardy. So that's how I would like to answer that question. I don't know, Saurabh, would you like to add something to that?
Sure. So essentially, SIM is if you, to be honest, SIM is an operating system. Okay, and I would say that USIM, the eSIM essentially is quite a bit more secure, because it can't get into the wrong hands, because the device is always with the intended user. However, it is, as you mentioned, it is extremely important that you have multi-factor authentication while the eSIM is being authenticated, to ensure that the intended recipient of the service is the one who's doing the activation. And from a pure endpoint management perspective, there are a bunch of solutions that we also offer. And then, of course, there are a bunch of built-in technology safeguards, which eSIM providers would have. So if you've ever done an eSIM activation, you will have to scan a barcode or provide a PIN, which is going to be sent to your phone. It's also going to have a password if it is going to be logging into a corporate network. In addition, there might be a VPN, token generation, which will be used. So that's incredibly important. We need to ensure that the entire chain's sanctity is maintained to avoid any, security incident.
Brilliant. I know we've come up on time. It's been an absolute pleasure and a privilege to moderated this panel. And I hope the audience has been able to get as much as I got out of these discussions. And it was incredible to see the range of solutions and the discussions that we had, from agriculture to microbiome to public service, managing the COVID scenario, the technology, the banking. Brilliant. So with that, I know we're on time. Thank you very much. It's indeed been a privilege, and I'll hand it back to you, Kavita.